Hello everyone, I am not Kevin Perger and this is not Defunct Land. Today, we'll be continuing our exploration of the famous New Orleans theme park Jazzland, an exploration that began in part 1 of this series. The year was 2000. The world hadn't ended with Y2K, a boy named Harry Potter was taking the world by storm. However, for New Orleanians, the biggest excitement of 2000 wasn't Britney Spears' iconic VMAs performance or the release of Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas, but rather the buzz surrounding the opening of a brand new theme park opening in New Orleans East, just off of Interstate 510. Operated by Alpha Smart Parks and owned by a Spanish company called Parques Reunidos, Jazzland was something of a curious investment. About 20 minutes drive from any large tourist hub and dropped in the middle of a barren field surrounded by marshland and literally nothing else for miles, the decision to place the theme park here was a bit confusing. New Orleans public transportation had never been extremely reliable, and even when it was, it didn't have to stop anywhere near the newly proposed park. Besides this, New Orleans East's reputation as a middle-class haven for the city of New Orleans proper had disintegrated over the years, and it was commonly known as one of the more crime-ridden parts of the greater New Orleans area. However, despite the puzzling choice of location, Alpha Parks, which is today known as Palace Entertainment, went ahead with the land acquisition and theme park project anyway, building the iconic Jazzland theme park. Jazzland was made up of 6 unique lands, each with a distinct Louisiana theme. The park had 2 bodies of water, the Crescent City Basin, around which the 6 lands were situated, and the Jazz Lake, which created the water's edge for the park's Pontchartrain Beach midway. At the entrance, guests were greeted by Jazz Plaza, this park's Main Street USA equivalent, which was populated by gift shops, snack bars, a guest services area, and an events hall, which regularly hosted shows and productions. This area was heavily themed to look like the Spanish colonial architecture of the French Quarter, complete with balconies and architectural flourishes commonly found there. The next area was Good Time Gardens, which was essentially a unthemed but peaceful family picnic area. The rides began in the Kids Carnival area, a children's land with rides such as the Little Easy, the Cajun Crawler, a generic kiddie coaster, and the Rex's Rail Coaster, which was of course named after one of Mardi Gras' most famous parades. The next land was named Mardi Gras. No, not Mardi Gras Land, not Mardi Gras Village, just Mardi Gras, and it was the area most densely populated by rides. Along with the King Chaos, a high-flying spinning ride, the Sky Coaster, a skydiving experience, and a few other off-the-shelf carnival rides with Mardi Gras-themed names, this land was home to 3 signature attractions: the Spillway Splashout, Jocko's Mardi Gras Madness, and the Mega Zeph. The Spillway Splashout was the least themed of these attractions, sporting only a vaguely Cajun-looking queue area, which led to a flume ride with only 1 elevation and 1 drop. Despite its barren appearance and overall poor ride experience, it was regularly one of the longest lines in the park, with guests desperate for a cool-off in the New Orleans heat, which could regularly reach 100 degrees during the park's summer season. The second most popular ride in Mardi Gras was an indoor interactive blacklight ride called Jocko's Mardi Gras Madness. As a kid, this was pure nightmare fuel. In the story of the ride, Jocko, a demonic Mardi Gras jester, orders his ghosts, zombies, and skeletons to steal the beads and doubloons in New Orleans so they can go have their own spooky Mardi Gras parade in the swamp. Traveling in a small Mardi Gras floats, guests, who were equipped with laser pistols, entered a Mardi Gras-themed hellmouth. Once past the hellmouth, they traveled through a haunted version of New Orleans, the docks, the city of the dead, and a swamp, shooting their lasers at the ghosts and creatures popping out from the New Orleans-themed facades in order to reclaim the lost Mardi Gras loot and defeat Jocko once and for all. It was dark and scary, and sometimes as a grown woman, I still get nightmares thinking about it. But without a doubt, the park's biggest and most important ride, and certainly the most important in the Mardi Gras area of the park, was the Mega Zeph. If one travels through New Orleans East today, if one is lucky enough, it's possible to peek through the trees and still spot the towering wooden roller coaster lording over the now-defunct Six Flags theme park. The Mega Zeph was the park's icon, and for good reason. Inspired by and meant as a tribute to the Zephyr wooden coaster, which was previously the icon of Pontchartrain Beach amusement park, the Mega Zeph was a chain-lift roller coaster with a 110-foot elevation, a track length of 4,000 feet, and a top speed of 57 miles per hour, the fastest in the park. While the ride didn't boast any 360 loops or inversions, one of the ride's final turns took the guests out over Jazzland, banking at such an angle that guests regularly reported feeling as if they were about to be dumped out of the coaster's cars and into the lake itself. As of filming this, I have not been able to find any credible reports of that actually occurring though. Oddly enough, though the original Zephyr was a part of the Pontchartrain Beach amusement park, the Mega Zephyr was not housed in the Pontchartrain Beach portion of the Jazzland park. This instead served as an area that paid tribute to the midways and theme parks of Pontchartrain Beach's heyday, with midway games, an arcade, a Ferris wheel, and plenty of snacks. It also included 3 signature attractions: the Pontchartrain Flyer, which guests swung out over Jazz Lake, the Muskrat's Gambler, a wild mouse coaster that was something of a poor man's tribute to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Zydeco Scream, a Vekoma Boomerang steel coaster with 3 inversions. The final ride area in Jazzland was known as Cajun Country, or as I like to call it, we couldn't call it Pirate Land because that's not New Orleans-y enough land. Cajun Land had its own Cajun dance hall, which regularly hosted shows and dances, a Cajun market, and a Cajun crafts area, which actually never sold Cajun crafts, but instead sold photo opportunities where families could dress up in old-timey clothes and get their pictures taken. It was not very popular. This area also hosted 3 of the park's other signature attractions: the Cypress Plunge, Lafitte's Pirate Ship, and Cajun Pirates. Cypress Plunge was another relatively unthemed water ride, which saw guests traveling down an exciting track in a hollowed-out cypress tree, while Lafitte's Pirate Ship was a simple swing ship setup vaguely styled like a pirate ship. The star of this area, though, and the star of the entire park, was Cajun Pirates. Cajun Pirates was, from the outside, a relatively unassuming building. However, once inside, the guests passed through 3 rooms, each building up to an exciting, incredible adventure with Jean Lafitte the pirate himself. Also, I have to nitpick this, but I see this a lot with both this ride and with the dozens and dozens of Disneyland YouTube channels out there, so I have to correct you all. Jean Lafitte was not a pirate. He was a privateer. Though he was born in Port-au-Prince in 1782, he and his brother claimed the Bordeaux area of France as their birthplace in order to secure French letters of marque that would make them privateers. In fact, for the vast majority of his career, he was offered official papers from France, the United States, Cartagena to officially privateer, and in his alleged diary, which is kept at the University of Sam Houston, he decries being called a pirate. And honestly, I wouldn't want the ghost of Jean Lafitte hunting me down for calling him a pirate, so yeah, nerds, call him a privateer. That's actually correct. Anyway, so whether or not the name was actually accurate, guests visiting Cajun Pirates would walk into the first room, which was black and barren except for a few items spotlit on the walls: a sword, a portrait of Jean Lafitte, and a golden bowl. Here, the guests were held until the next room was cleared, listening to the sounds of the ocean and voiceovers of pirates overhead, enjoying the air conditioning for a few moments. In the second room, themed like a dock with a large screen on the far wall, guests met Jean Lafitte himself, who introduced him to their upcoming voyage. The film's MacGuffin was Lafitte's golden bowl, and he would need guests to help him safely transport the golden bowl out of Macau. Once this room was cleared, guests entered a third room, a massive theater hung with ancient flags. In the front of the room, there hung a huge sail which bore the Jolly Roger and which dripped with blood. Themed like a Spanish galleon, guests secured themselves in this room with seatbelts as Jean Lafitte invited them to come on his final journey. Once the all-clear was given, flight simulation technology beneath the theater, paired with water spray and fan effects, would sell the audience on the idea that not only were they in the middle of a battle between Jean Lafitte and another ship, but that ship was taking place in the middle of a hurricane. After a tumultuous sea battle, guests arrive safely back at port, and Jean Lafitte thanks them for all their help. A completely original attraction built and produced by Cemex Digital Studios, Cajun Pirates, or The Secret Voyage of Jean Lafitte as it was titled once guests were actually inside the ride itself, was a must-see attraction that comfortably stayed at the top of guest satisfaction rankings. And as someone who demanded her family go on this ride at least twice every visit, and who can still quote some lines from it from memory with perfect Jean Lafitte inflection, this is probably the ride that most people miss the most. It was historical, it was epic, and it was woven into the myths and legends of New Orleans itself, which gave the entire thing a magical, personal quality to it. After passing through Cajun Country, guests found themselves back at Jazz Plaza, where they could then exit the park through the front entrance or continue around the loop for more exploring of the park's lands. Jazzland was a fun and exciting theme park with incredible potential and a fairly high level of theming for a regional park. So, what happened? Well, as mentioned in the opening of this video, the park wasn't exactly in a touristy or easily accessible part of town. And though the park was projected to draw in around 1 million guests annually, the average attendance for a season that actually hovered around 600,000 guests. With a low advertising budget and a nearby customer base that couldn't afford a day at the theme park, much less a season pass to one, Jazzland never, in its 5 years of operation, managed to turn a profit. Dennis Spiegel, president of International Theme Park Services, described the park as, quote, an ill-conceived concept in the wrong location, and it just should not have been built. And he was probably right. So, who was stupid enough to take on this project? Well, we'll discuss that in part 3. Play me out, Crazy Frog. Hi everyone, thank you so much for returning for this last installment of the Ghosts of Jazzland series. If you're interested in pop culture and theme park history, please comment below what your favorite Jazzland ride would have been. Then like this video and hit the subscribe button to make sure you're alerted for the last 3 parts of this series. If you like what I do and want to get exclusive content and input on future videos, head on over to my Patreon page linked below and help support the show. Colin, JH, and Samuel are my 3 current patrons, and I'm so grateful for all that they do to make Cold Takes the best it can be. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.